Hey everybody, it's Christina Holloway here. For those of you who don't know me, I just want to take a minute to introduce myself. I am an executive coach. I have been an executive coach for about 7 years now. I spend a lot of my time working with executives at major corporations, and I help them build their careers. If you like my channel, if you like my content, please feel free to click the like button, click the subscribe button, and click the notification bell so you never miss a video from me. All right, so let's get started. Today we're going to talk about how to build a strong culture at work. A culture could be in any area. A company has a culture, an organization or a department or a division has a culture, and then the further down you go, the more likely you'll see microcultures. So from a director level, from a senior manager level, from a manager level, and then below. And each one of these areas has the capacity to set consciously or unconsciously the kind of culture that they operate in. Everything I talk about really is about being a person who's inside a company or an organization or a team and who might struggle with, I don't understand why they do these things, and how do I fit? Where is my fit? And most of it comes from, am I a fit with the culture that's been established, whether it was purposeful or it just evolved with the people around. Now, there's two kinds of culture, the one that grows from a purposeful place, which means somebody decided this is the culture we're going to have, which is a great place to be, or there's the other culture which just surfaces because people do not know or understand how to interact with each other, in which case it can be toxic, and you find that one out real quick. So we're going to talk about how to establish a healthy culture, especially if you're somebody who's a new manager or a new director or someone who's about to build out their teams and wants to know, how do I start strong? So I have coached a couple people actually in the past, I'd say 6 to 9 months, who've come into new roles where they have authority, and they've said, how are we going to start strong? Because I'm really worried this could spiral really quick. So we're going to talk about 3 areas that I help them establish quickly so that they have people who join the team and know exactly how they're supposed to behave and interact with the other people around them immediately as soon as they join the team. And that's what you want for a healthy culture. You want to walk into the team or department, walk into any of those meetings and understand exactly what the rules of engagement are. All right, so let's get started. Number 1, introduce your style. Here, you're going to be in charge of a group of people. So you absolutely want to explain exactly what your leadership style is and how you operate and solve problems. There's a number of ways that this can play out, and I have a few examples from different people recently who've shared how they did this. So one person took over a whole new team and said, I've decided I'm going to create a PowerPoint deck. I'm going to tell them all this information about what my leadership style is and what they can expect from me. And I'm going to share it during a team meeting. And she said, I welcomed them to write me back or share themselves. Many of them wrote her back. So she understood that the way they wanted to share was one-on-one. And they all shared, I appreciate how your leadership style looks, and here's where I think I can add to that, or how I'm going to complement your style, and here are my strengths. So in this example, she really wanted to come across very strong, very clear about the kind of leader she was going to be, very clear about the projects and the objectives that they were going to have for the rest of the year, and very clear about what she decided they were going to work on and how they were going to work toward those goals. And then she was very clear about the kind of person she was. Now, I have another example, and I believe I shared it in one of my other videos, of how this person came into a new department. He was not in charge. And he asked his peers on his team and said, can we just have a call where we can introduce ourselves, because I don't know everybody, but I also want to share what kind of person, what kind of style I have in terms of getting work done. And that went well too. And one person said, I really appreciate that you shared what your style is, because this is my style. So let's see how we can work together to reduce friction. A third example, he's an executive vice president at a very big major company. He was brand new. He came in, and I'm working with the regional vice president. He's my client. And he said it was very different and unique. He came in on the first day with a PowerPoint And he shared a lot of information about himself and a lot of personal information so that we could get to know him as a person. And then he explained what his goals are since he was new. And he said, this is what I expect to accomplish in the first year that I'm here. And from here, we're going to pivot into this new area, which was a new business objective. And there was no miscommunicating. Again, he also, this regional vice president, said, I immediately created my own PowerPoint and went and had a one-on-one meeting with him and told him about my life and who I am. One final point on this one. When you do this exercise, if you share as a team member with others, or you share as a leader, a manager, a director with your team, and you're sharing this type of information, foundationally who you are and what kind of style you have as a leader, you're starting the process of building trust, reciprocity, and developing deeper relationships with the people you have to work with. And that's the whole point of this exercise. Number 2, understand conflict. I just had this conversation with another client who also told me I'm starting to ramp up hiring people, and I'm not just hiring people locally, I have to hire them internationally. So I used to work with an executive director and we ran an international team. It was virtual long before we started going into this virtual space for the past couple of years. And when you're running an international team, you do want to make sure they understand how you're operating. You're definitely establishing the culture immediately. So once she hires all the people she needs, she then needs to create some sort of process or framework for how they're going to handle conflict. What kind of conflict? First of all, these are the rules of engagement when it comes to conflict among us. So if anybody inside the team or the department is struggling or has a miscommunication, we have to put a pause and we're going to settle the conflict in this particular way. And then you identify what you hold as values for your team, which is open, honest communication. Don't be afraid to give feedback up and down. Being able to deal with the conflict directly instead of passively. Any kind of approach that you want to develop so that people know how they can interact with each other. When you establish this, they at least know how to disagree. You're going to be less likely to have big blow-ups, big meltdowns, major miscommunication, and a lack of understanding how people are supposed to interact with each other. Now, the other half of conflict is when departments or teams from outside your bubble impede on your progress. So, of course, there's disagreements in projects, and you could be working with multiple teams across different areas of the business. But what you'll find is they could very well be unraveling, and they dump it on you or your team, who starts to feel stress. And once they start to feel stress, you want to build up their resilience. How? You make sure that they can tell you. There has to be an open door policy where they can tell you very early, if possible, hey, there are some red flags here. Something is falling apart, and we'd like to have you involved in the process early because it doesn't look like it's going to go well. So if you're a person who's trying to establish a strong culture, you absolutely want to tell them, look, I can't have your back if you don't bring me into the conversation early enough. But you're less likely to be a person who says, oh, just ignore it or just deal with it. Not the answer that people are looking for when they're feeling under pressure. I also have a client who said, hey, this woman just threw me under the bus. And my boss was like, oh, don't worry about it this time. And what happened? A week later, she goes, yeah, she did it again. So you really want to pay attention to how you're dealing with conflict on your team. And number 3, develop a troubleshooting approach. Okay, so what are we talking about here? Well, when you start to figure out how you want your teams to move forward, they're going to start working on major projects and major initiatives. So you absolutely want to start setting a standard for how they're supposed to solve any kinds of problems. Now, this goes back to what I explained in my previous video about delegation and understanding how you create accountability for the people on your team so that you can delegate to them more often and they feel a sense of value for being there. You also want to establish ground rules or parameters by which they can troubleshoot their own problems and then understand at what point they need to involve you. So you could have a team where everybody's always calling you saying, hey, I got a problem here, I got a problem there, these people are bothering me, I think you need to get involved in those conversations. However, that could take up your whole day. So you do want to empower your team and make sure that they know and understand at what point they need to involve you. Call me if you need me for support. Also, keep me involved. So the value, which is related to transparency, allows them to understand where they're learning, growing, and evolving, and then be able to check in with you so that you make sure that they're on the right track. This is a little bit about empowering people, but also keeping them on track for career development. You want to have a culture where everybody feels like they're actually working towards something. Now, the other half of this, being able to troubleshoot, also means allowing them to create solutions on their own and bringing them back to you and saying, I've created my own frameworks. I've created my own solutions. How are we going to incorporate these? Because you absolutely want a team that's working at its highest potential. Once you reach that moment, you now realize that a culture that you've established from the beginning, which is really about transparency, open communication, empowerment, the ability to deal with conflict, are all leading you to creating a culture that's self-sustaining, one that requires only a little bit of effort on your part to keep it on track. Once you've achieved that, you're now able to move forward working with a very good, well-performing, high-performance team. All right, so that's it for this video on how to build a strong culture at work. We talked about 3 specific areas that you can develop. 1, what is your leadership style? 2, how do you deal with conflict? And 3, what's the approach for problem solving? Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.